All across the river, and you have freedom calling. To answer, gonna keep it on. I can feel it. Top of the day, beautiful people. Happy Tuesday, Tiffany. Hey, girl. Hey. YouTube. Shalom. Shalom. Hey. Great rising shade. All right, beautiful people. Yeah. We got 1 minute. I'm gonna fix my screen. Uh-oh. What? Oh, come on, computer. My first thing this morning. Sheesh. Y'all, hold on. Oh, okay. I gotta say this is gonna make me do this update. Greetings, Uncle Nathaniel. Greetings. What's up? Yeah. I've been walking my face to see. And I got eyes in the back of my head. All right, y'all. Betwabu, Trina, Betwabu. How many of y'all know this trial about to go to where the dirt? I ain't even watched it. The whole George Floyd with Derek Chauvin. I ain't watching none of it. But I just got a feeling it's going to where the dirt. Because Israel is still looking for help from the wrong place, right? And it's going to outrage. It is going to outrage our people. Okay. I ain't going to talk about that. I did click on it yesterday. It said they were doing their closing arguments and they extended into today. We'll see if they get done with them today. I couldn't watch, but not even a good 3 minutes of it, right? Just in case I have to run. Yeah. Tiffany, you know what it is, right? All right, y'all. I ain't even gonna start it, but I'm gonna use a little bit of bad English here. I just noted, right? I just noted. We're gonna see, all right? Just for them 3 minutes that I clicked in yesterday, I was like, yeah, this is going to wear the dirt. Israel is realizing that Israel has not realized where our help comes from, right? And Yahuah knows which way it's going to go, right? And he's going to allow it to go that way. Yeah, they got a whole day full of deliberations today. Let's see if they can come to a decision today, right? You would think it would be easy, but based on the judicial system we have and the way they craftily word things and the way they situate these cases in such a manner, it's the letter of the law that gets them off on technicalities, right? So here's my prayer. May Yahuah deal with him like he dealt with Menzi's master. That's all I'm going to say. Those of y'all know what I'm talking about, know what I'm talking about. All right. Let's do the shimmer. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, that you may increase mightily, as Yahuah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuah, our God, he is one God. And you shall love Yahuah your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do these commandments before Yahuwah our God as he has commanded us. All right, beautiful people. It is Tuesday, April the 20th, 2021, day 132 of year 3 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 801. Today we're reading 2 Kings 3, 4, and 5. Then we're going to hop over to the Legends of the Jews and pick up where we left off at yesterday. Well, not yesterday, on Sunday, on page 491. Okay. All right. 2 Kings, chapter 3. Ahab's son, Joram, began to rule over Israel in the 18th year of King Jehoshaphat's reign. He reigned in Samaria 12 years. He did what was evil in Yahuwah's sight, but not to the same extent as his father and mother. He at least tore down the sacred pillar of Baal that his father had set up. Nevertheless, he continued in the sins that Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, had committed and led the people of Israel to commit. King Mesha of Moab was a sheep breeder. He used to pay the king of Israel an annual tribute of 100,000 lambs and the wool of 100,000 lambs. But after Ahab's death, the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. So Joram promptly mustered the army of Israel and marched from Samaria. On the way, he sent his message to King Jehoshaphat of Judah. The king of Moab has rebelled against me. Will you join me in battle against him? And Jehoshaphat replied, why, of course. You and I are as one. My troops are your troops, and my horses, your horses. Then Jehoshaphat asked, what route will we take? We will attack from the wilderness of Edom, Joram replied. The king of Edom and his troops joined them, and all 3 armies traveled along a roundabout route through the wilderness for 7 days, but there was no water for the men or their animals. What should we do? The king of Israel cried out. Yahuwah has brought the 3 of us here to let the king of Moab defeat us. The king Jehoshaphat of Judah asked, is there no prophet of Yahuwah with us? If there is, we can ask Yahuwah what to do through him. One of King Joram's officers replied, Elisha, son of Shaphat, is here. He used to be Elijah's personal assistant. Jehoshaphat said, yes, Yahuwah speaks through him. So the king of Israel, King Jehoshaphat of Judah, and the king of Edom went to consult with Elisha. Why are you coming to me? Elisha asked the king of Israel. Go to the pagan prophets of your father and mother. But King Joram of Israel said, no, for it was Yahuwah who called us 3 kings here, only to be defeated by the king of Moab. Elisha replied, as surely as Yahuwah lives, whom I serve, I wouldn't even bother with you except for my respect for King Jehoshaphat of Judah. Now bring me someone who can play the harp. While the harp was being played, the power of Yahuwah came upon Elisha, and he said, this is what Yahuwah says. This dry valley will be filled with pools of water. You will see neither wind nor rain, says Yahuwah, but this valley will be filled with water. You will have plenty of water for yourselves and your cattle and the other animals. But this is only a simple thing for Yahuwah, for he will make you victorious over the army of Moab. You will conquer the best of their towns, even the fortified ones. You will cut down all their good trees, stop up all their springs, and ruin the good lands with stones. The next day, about the time when the morning sacrifice was offered, water suddenly appeared. It was flowing from the direction of Edom, and soon there was water everywhere. Meanwhile, when the people of Moab heard about the three armies marching against them, they mobilized every man who was old enough to strap on a sword, and they stationed themselves along their border. But when they got up the next morning, the sun was shining across the water, making it appear red to the Moabites like blood. It's blood, the Moabites exclaimed. The three armies must have attacked and killed each other. Let's go, men of Moab, and collect the plunder. But when the Moabites arrived at the Israelite camp, the army of Israel rushed out and attacked them until they turned and ran. The army of Israel chased them into the land of Moab, destroying everything as they went. They destroyed the towns, covered their good lands with stones, stopped up all the springs, and cut down all the good trees. Finally, only Kir Haresh and its stone walls were left, but men with slings surrounded and attacked it. When the king of Moab saw that he was losing the battle, he led 700 of his swordsmen in a desperate attempt to break through the enemy lines near the king of Edom, but they failed. Then the king of Moab took his oldest son, who would have been the next king, and sacrificed him as a burnt offering on the wall. So there was great anger against Israel, and the Israelites withdrew and returned to their own land. 2 Kings chapter 4. One day, the widow of a member of a group of prophets came to see Elisha and cried out, "My husband who served you is dead, and you know how he feared Yahuah. But now a creditor has come, threatening to take my two sons as slaves. What can I do to help you?" Elisha asked. "Tell me, what do you have in the house?" "Nothing at all, except a flask of oil," she replied. And Elisha said, "Borrow as many empty jars as you can from your friends and neighbors. Then go into your house with your sons and shut the door behind you. Pour olive oil from your flask into the jars, setting each one aside when it is filled." So she did as she was told. Her sons kept bringing jars to her, and she filled one after another. Soon every container was full to the brim. "Bring me another jar," she said to one of her sons. "There aren't any more," he told her. And then the oil stopped flowing. When she told the man of Yahuah what had happened, he said to her, "Now sell the olive oil and pay your debts, and you and your sons can live on what is left over." One day, Elisha went to the town of Shunem. A wealthy woman lived there, and she urged him to come to her home for a meal. After that, whenever he passed that way, he would stop there for something to eat. She said to her husband, "I am sure this man who stops in from time to time is a holy man of Yahuah. Let's build a small room for him on the roof and furnish it with a bed and a table, a chair, and a lamp. Then he will have a place to stay whenever he comes by." One day, Elisha returned to Shunem, and he went up to his upper room to rest. He said to his servant Gehazi, "Tell the woman from Shunem I want to speak with her." When she appeared, Elisha said to Gehazi, "Tell her, we appreciate the kind concern you have shown us. What can we do for you? Can we put in a good word for you to the king or the commander of the army?" "No," she replied. "My family takes good care of me." Later, Elisha and Gehazi asked, "What can we do for her?" Gehazi replied, "She doesn't have a son, and her husband is an old man." "Call her back again," Elisha told him. When the woman returned, Elisha said to her as she stood in the doorway, "Next year at this time, you will be holding a son in your arms." "No, my lord," she cried. "Oh, man of Yah, don't deceive me and get my hopes up like that." But sure enough, the woman soon became pregnant. And at the time, the following year, she had a son, just as Elisha had said. One day, when her child was older, he went out to help his father, who was working with the harvesters. Suddenly, he cried out, "My head hurts, my head hurts." His father said to one of the servants, "Carry him home to his mother." So the servant took him home, and the mother held him on her lap. But around noontime, he died. She carried him up and laid him on the bed of the man of Yah, then shut the door and left him there. She sent a message to her husband, "Send one of the servants and a donkey so that I can hurry to the man of Yah and come right back." "Why go today?" he asked. "It is neither a new moon festival or a Sabbath." But she said, "It will be all right." So she saddled the donkey and said to the servant, "Hurry, don't slow down unless I tell you to." As she approached the man of Yah at Mount Carmel, Elisha saw her in the distance. He said to Gehazi, "Look, the woman from Shunem is coming. Run out to meet her and ask her, 'Is everything all right with you, your husband, and your child?'" "Yes," the woman told Gehazi, "everything is fine." But when she came to the man of Yah at the mountain, she fell to the ground before him and caught hold of his feet. Gehazi began to push her away, but the man of Yah said, "Leave her alone. She is deeply troubled, but Yahuah has not told me what it is." Then she said, "Did I ask you for a son, my lord? And didn't I say, 'Don't deceive me and get my hopes up'?" Then Elisha said to Gehazi, "Get ready to travel. Take my staff and go. Don't talk to anyone along the way. Go quickly and lay the staff on the child's face." But the boy's mother replied, "As surely as Yahuah lives, you yourself, as surely as Yahuah lives and you yourself live, I won't go home unless you go with me." So Elijah returned with her. Gehazi hurried on ahead and laid the staff on the child's face, but nothing happened. There was no sign of life. He returned to meet Elisha and told him the child is still dead. So remember when we actually read through this, right? Gehazi on the way there to lay the staff on the child's face, this dude had no kind of faith whatsoever. Matter of fact, he was actually making a mockery of what Elijah had told him to do. This is one of the first time we hear about Gehazi doing something crazy, right? Because remember, he went back after I think was it Naaman? I want to say it was Naaman, one of the ones who had leprosy, and Elijah didn't accept any kind of gifts from him, right? After he had healed him. And so after Elisha had left, Gehazi went back and said, "Oh, King, listen." Elijah said, "Go ahead and get them gifts to me. You know, we're going to a party later." He forgot about it. You can go ahead and get them thanks, man. Just kind of, I threw the party part in there. But he gave it to him, and Elisha, when he got back to Elijah had already knew what he had did because Yahuwah revealed it to him. He said, "Gehazi, Naaman's leprosy is now going to be yours," right? Because you went down here and just lied to this man trying to profit off the gift, right? You don't profit off the gift. But the boy's mother said, "As surely as Yahuwah lives and you live yourself, I won't go home unless you go with me." So Elisha returned with her. Gehazi hurried on ahead and laid the staff on the child's face, but nothing happened. There was no sign of life. He returned to meet Elisha and told him, "The child is still dead." When Elisha arrived, the child was indeed dead, lying there on the prophet's bed. He went in alone and shut the door behind him and prayed to Yahuwah. Then he lay down on the child's body, placing his mouth on the child's mouth, his eyes on the child's eyes, his hands on the child's hands, and he stretched out on him. The child's body began to grow warm again. Elisha got up and walked back and forth across the room once, and then stretched himself out again on the child. This time the boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. Okay. Then Elisha summoned Gehazi. "Call the child's mother," he said. And when she came in, Elisha said, "Here, take your son." She fell at his feet and bowed before him, overwhelmed with gratitude. Then she took her son in her arms and carried him downstairs. Elisha now returned to Gilgal, and there was a famine in the land. One day, as a group of prophets was seated before him, he said to his servant, "Put a large pot on the fire and make some stew for the rest of the group." One of the young men went out into the field to gather herbs and came back with a pocket full of wild gourds. He shredded them and put them into the pot without realizing they were poisonous. Some of the stew was served to the men, but after they had eaten a bite or two, they cried out, "Man of Yah, there is poison in this stew." So they would not eat it. Elisha said, "Bring me some flour." Then he threw it into the pot and said, "Now it's all right. Go ahead and eat." And then it did not harm them. One day, a man from Baal Shalishah bought the man of Yah a sack of fresh grain and 20 loaves of barley bread made from the first grain of his harvest. Elisha said, "Give it to the people so they can eat." "What?" his servant exclaimed. "Feed 100 people with only this?" But Elisha repeated, "Give it to the people so they can eat, for this is what Yahuwah says. Everyone will eat, and there will even be some left over." And they gave it to the people, and there was plenty for all, and some left over, just as Yahuwah had promised. Now, how many people knew that it was a miracle of loaves back here? Right? You see how much we miss when we don't read? right? Reading is fundamental. Yes. Elijah multiplied loaves of bread. All right, last chapter for the day, y'all. 2 Kings chapter 5. The king of Aram had great admiration for Naaman, the commander of his army, because through him Yahuah had given Aram great victories. But through Naaman, a mighty warrior, he suffered from leprosy. Dana said, wait, what? Yes. But Naaman was a mighty warrior. But though Naaman was a mighty warrior, he suffered from leprosy. At this time, Aramean raiders had invaded the land of Israel, and among their captives was a young girl who had been given Naaman's wife as a maid. One day the girl said to her mistress, I wish my master would go see the prophet in Samaria. He would heal him of his leprosy. So Naaman told the king what the young girl from Israel had said. Go visit the prophet, the king of Aram told him. I will send a letter of introduction for you to take to the king of Israel. So Naaman started out carrying as gifts 750 pounds of silver, 150 pounds of gold, and 10 sets of clothing. The letter to the king of Israel said, with this letter I present my servant Naaman. I want you to heal him of his leprosy. When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes in dismay and said, am I God that can give life and take it away? Why is this man asking me to heal someone with leprosy? I can see that he's just trying to pick a fight with me. But Elisha said to the man of Yah, but when Elisha, the man of Yah, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes in dismay, he sent this message to him. Why are you so upset? Send Naaman to me, and he will learn that there is a true prophet here in Israel. So Naaman went with his horses and his chariots and waited at the door of Elisha's house. But when Elisha sent a messenger out to him with this message, but Elisha sent a messenger out to him with this message. Go and wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan. Then your skin will be restored and you will be healed of your leprosy. TT, hey girl, hey. Dana, they showed it. They done stole another story. But Elisha sent a messenger out to him with this message. Go and wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan River. Then your skin will be restored and you will be healed of your leprosy. But Naaman became angry and stalked away. I thought he would certainly come out to meet me, he said. I expected him to wave his hand over the leprosy and call on the name of his God and heal me. Aren't the rivers of Damascus, the Abana, and the Pharpar better than any of the rivers of Israel? Why shouldn't I wash in them and be healed? So Naaman turned and went away in rage. But his officers tried to reason with him and said, Sir, if the prophet had told you to do something very difficult, wouldn't you have done it? So you should certainly obey him when he says simply, go and wash and be cured. So Naaman went down to the Jordan River and dipped himself 7 times as the man of Yah had instructed him, and his skin became as healthy as the skin of a young child, and he was healed. Then Naaman and his entire party went back to find the man of Yah. They stood before him, and Naaman said, Now I know that there is no God in all the world except in Israel. Please accept a gift from your servant. But Elisha replied, As surely as Yahuah lives, whom I serve, I will not accept any gifts. And though Naaman urged him to take the gift, Elisha refused. Then Naaman said, All right, but please allow me to load two of my mules with earth from this place, and I will take it back home with me. From now on, I will never again offer burnt offerings or sacrifices to any other God except Yahuah. However, may Yahuah pardon me in this one thing. When my master, the king, goes into the temple of the God of Rimmon to worship there and leans on my arm, may Yahuah pardon me when I bow to. Go in peace, Elisha said. So Naaman started home again. But Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of Yahuah, But Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of Yah, said to himself, My master should not have let this Aramean get away without accepting any of his gifts. As surely as Yahuah lives, I will chase after him and get something from him. So Gehazi set off after Naaman. When Naaman saw Gehazi running after him, he climbed down from his chariot and went to meet with him. Is everything all right? Naaman asked. Yes, Gehazi said, but my master has sent me to tell you that 2 young prophets from the hill country of Ephraim have just arrived. He would like 75 pounds of silver and 2 sets of clothing to give to them. By all means, take twice as much silver, Naaman insisted. He gave him 2 sets of clothing, tied up the money in bags, and sent 2 of his servants to carry the gifts for Gehazi. But when they arrived at the citadel, Gehazi took the gifts from the servants and sent the men back. Then he went and hid the gifts inside the house. When he went in to his master, Elisha asked him, Where have you been, Gehazi? I haven't been anywhere, he replied. But Elisha asked him, Don't you realize that I was there in spirit when Naaman stepped down from his chariot to meet you? His heart should have just bust right out his chest right at that point. But Elisha asked him, Don't you realize that I was there in spirit when Naaman stepped down from his chariot to meet you? Is this the time to receive money and clothing, olive groves and vineyards, sheep and cattle, and male and female servants? Because you have done this, you and your descendants will suffer from Naaman's leprosy forever. When Gehazi left the room, he was covered with leprosy. His skin was as white as snow. All right, my beautiful people. That is it for today. We're going to hop over here to the Legends of the Jews. Trina said, man, they refused to take gifts back then, but that collection plate get passed around like normal nowadays. Ain't that the truth, right? We could get into that. But we're not. We ain't going to get started today. We ain't going to get started, right? Because we know that gifts pervert justice, right? That's why those who speak for Yah, they should be able to pay their own way and let Yahuah bless them, right? Not go do stuff if they getting their palms greased or not, right? And even if they are offering something to them, they should not take it. Based on what we see, right? Because once you start the habit of doing those things, you begin to pervert justice, right? And then we're going to find out that you have a purchase price. How much do I really need to give you to get a word from the Lord, right? Yahuah said no, absolutely not, right? Right. So Yahuah's prophets should not have a purchase price. Okay. So we're picking up with more in the book of Esther. Now we're talking about the festivities in Shushan on page, I said page 491. Hold on. No, I was right. Because we read the extra section. I'm sorry. I didn't mark it here when we read it. We read the extra section. Shoot, now they got pastor's anniversary, collecting gifts and money. Speak, Dana. Look, apparently they didn't get the memo. I'm almost certain they didn't get the memo because they don't read it. They tell you not to read it. Keep everybody in trouble, right? That's why all the kings had to go. They sinned and they called all Israel to sin with them. But we ain't going to start today. Like I said, Damon, I'm getting started every week. Right? Okay. I had to mark my spot. Okay, so today we're starting on, like I said at the beginning, I said it right at the beginning, but I was starting at the wrong section. On page 491, and we're starting with Vashti's banquet, right? This is King Artaxerxes or King Ahasuerus. Same person. Matter of fact, few of the kings had the same name, right? All right. The banquet given by Queen Vashti to the women differed but slightly from Ahasuerus's. She sought to emulate her husband's example, even in the point of exhibiting treasures. 6 store chambers she displayed daily to the women she had bidden as guests. She did not even shrink from arraying herself in the high priestly garments. The meats and dishes at Ahasuerus' table were Palestinian, only instead of wine, liquors were served and sweets. As the week, okay, I had to make sure I was reading it right. As the weak sex is subject to sudden is subject to sudden attacks of indisposition, the banquet was given in the halls of the palace so that the guests might at need withdraw to the adjoining chambers. Look, y'all hear what he just said? I'm gonna read this again. Let's see if y'all get it. As the weak sex, and they referring to women, the weaker sex, right? As the weak sex is subject to sudden attacks of indisposition, the banquet was given in the halls of the palace so that the guests at need might withdraw to the adjoining chambers. Right? They didn't turn this into a whole brothel almost, right? We're going to keep the party right here in the halls because we got all these rooms. And if you feel it coming on, you just go into one of these many rooms and handle what you're feeling, right? The gorgeously ornamented apartments of the palace, besides, were more attractive to the feminine taste than the natural beauties of the royal gardens, for a woman would rather reside in beautiful chambers and possess beautiful clothes than eat fatted calves. Nothing interested the women more than to become acquainted with the arrangement of the interior of the palace, for women are curious to know all things. Vashti gratified their desire. She showed them all there was to be seen, describing every place as she came to it. This is the dining hall, this the wine room, this the bedchamber. Vashti, too, was actuated by a political move when she determined to give her banquet. You thought it was about women's menstrual cycles. Hold on, maybe I was tripping. Let me go back. Hold on, Tiffany. You made me think. Hold on. Let's see. Let's go back real quick. As the weak sex is subject to sudden attacks of indisposition, I don't know, Tiffany. I don't know. Do you think them getting a cycle all of a sudden is considered a sudden attack of indisposition? Yes. Withdraw to the adjoining chambers. I don't know. You could be right. That could be one or other. Now that you bring it up. Hold on. They held it in the halls. Let's see. You could be right. You could be right. You might be right. I could be wrong, right? Let's read it again. Okay. I didn't even think about that. But you could be right. I'm thinking the king got all the men over here. The king got all the men over here. Vashti pulling a political move. She got all the women over here, but let's keep it in the halls, right? Let's read it again. I don't know. You could be right. Hold on. I don't know. Maybe I need to get my mind out the gutter. Okay. The banquet given by Queen Vashti to the women differed but slightly from Ahasuerus's. She thought to emulate her husband's example, even in the point of exhibiting treasures. 6 store chambers she displayed daily to the women she had bidden as guests. She didn't even shrink from arraying herself in the high priestly garments. The meats and dishes, as at Ahasuerus's table, were Palestinian, only instead of wine, liquors were served and sweets. As the weak sex is subject to sudden attacks of indisposition, the banquet was given in the halls of the palace so that the guests might at need withdraw to the adjoining chambers. The gorgeously ornamented apartments of the palace, besides, were more attractive to the feminine taste than the natural beauties of the royal gardens, for a woman would rather reside in beautiful chambers and possess beautiful clothes than to eat fatted calves. I don't know, Tiffany. You might be right though. You might be right. I don't know. So I'm gonna have to go back when we're done. I'm gonna look up indisposition. I'm gonna look up all this, right? I'm gonna look up all this. Let's see. Hold on. I guess we're gonna have to go back and read about the king's banquet too, because we know he was quite hard. He said, "Has your God ever thrown a feast like this?" Let's see. Oh, they did. I don't know. And I also think about, did they have their bathrooms inside? I mean, I guess it. I don't know. We think about TV, having outhouses and stuff. I don't know. Maybe that was just for the slaves. I don't know. I need to do. We're gonna shelf this for a second. We're gonna keep reading, but I gotta go look at this, y'all. Tiffany, you might be right. Hold on. You gotta bring out all the points. I'll let y'all know what I come up with. Y'all let me know what y'all come up with if y'all look at it. Okay. Nothing interested the women more than to become acquainted with the arrangement of the interior of the palace, for women are curious to know all things. Vashti gratified her desire. She showed them all. There was to be seen, describing every place as she came to it. This is the dining hall, this the wine room, this the bedchamber. Vashti, too, was actuated by a political move when she determined to give her banquet by inviting the two wives of hostages in case the men arose in insurrection against the king. Possible. Possible. Yeah, y'all bring out good points. Okay, let's bring these points up. Uncle Nathaniel said, consider this was a banquet for women only, right? Right. Or Tiffany said, or it might be not being able to handle the liquor. Shayla said it could be us being nosy or getting drunk too easily or needing to lay down. That's possible. All of them. I do, right. The key point, this is a banquet for women. But yes, yeah, you're right. I think y'all are right. One of the one of them answers is right. I think I actually might be wrong on that. You're right. Because the main part, because the banquets were separated, right? But listen though, here is why I say it, right? It says because the weak sex, right? Because when it's, I think that's what caused me to think the way it says, as the weak sex is subject to sudden attacks of indisposition, right? Good morning, Uncle JB. It caused me to think about that because, and I just think about it in the whole sexual realm, right? Because women, and although it didn't mention sex here, but it was talking about the female species being the weaker vessel. We're not necessarily named the weaker vessel because we have menstrual cycles, right? We're it, like you said, it could be them weaker sex not being able to hold a liquor, weaker sex not being able to keep themselves chaste, right? Because if the women could keep themselves chaste, the men would be chaste. At least they would be chaste in regards to women, because women are the gatekeepers of sex, right? And we ain't talking about them being forcibly raped or anything like that, right? So that's what caused me to think that way, because it says, as the weak sex is subject to sudden attacks of indisposition, right? And sometimes, well, yeah, we're going to look at all those things because we want to see it all. And if we drink too much, we'll need to lay down. True, true. Like I said, we're going to shelf it for a moment. I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to look up a couple things, right? Okay. But yeah, so that's what my mind went there when it described the women as the weaker sex, right? Okay. So we'll see. Okay. So let me go back up. I just go back up to the weak sex. As the weak sex is subject to sudden attacks of indisposition, the banquet was given in the halls of the palace so that the guests might need to withdraw to the adjoining chambers. Hold on. So that the guests might at need withdraw to the adjoining chambers. The gorgeously ornamented apartments of the palace, besides, were more attractive to the feminine taste than the natural beauties of the royal gardens. For a woman would rather reside in beautiful chambers and possess beautiful clothes than to eat fatted cows. Y'all do me a favor. I just want to check, and maybe nobody just felt like commenting. I just want to make sure one of my children didn't hit this live chat and disable it. Hold on. Let me see. Live chat. Hold on. Let me see. I don't think I can check it right here. Somebody allow. Okay. Allow. Okay. Hold on. Okay. So it don't look like it. I just had to check it. I didn't know how to check it. So it's good. Maybe just nobody said anything. I just wanted to make sure just in case somebody was trying to say something and they couldn't. Okay. Nothing interested the women more than to become acquainted with the arrangement of the interior of the palace, for women are curious to know all things. Vashti gratified their desire. She showed them all there was to be seen, describing every place as she came to it. This is the dining hall, this is the wine room, this is the bed chamber. Vashti, too, was actuated by a political move when she determined to give her banquet by inviting the wives of hostages in case the men arose in insurrection against the king. For Vashti knew the ways of statecraft. She not only was the wife of a king, but also the daughter of a king, of Belshazzar. The night of Belshazzar's murder in his own palace, Vashti, alarmed by the confusion that ensued and not knowing of the death of her father, fled to the apartments in which he was in the habit of sitting. The Median Darius had already ascended the throne of Belshazzar, so it happened that Vashti, instead of finding the hoped for refuge with her father, ran straight into the hands of his successor. But he had compassion with her and gave her to his son Ahasuerus for wife. The fate of Vashti. Though Ahasuerus had taken every precaution to prevent intemperate indulgence in wine, his banquet revealed the essential difference between Hebrew and pagan festivities. When Hebrews are gathered about a festal board, they discuss the halakha or the Haggadah, or at least a simple verse from the scriptures. Ahasuerus and his boon companions rounded out the banquet with prurient talk. The Persians lauded the charm. Hold on. I just thought about something, y'all. Hold on. Look. Listen right here. Hold on. And anybody, hold on. Okay, listen. Here's where I'm going with this. Anybody who has ever been drunk or know people that drank, get drunk, think about all people, right? But at least from what I've experienced. Listen right here. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. This is kind of true. Because I've been around both kinds. Those of our people who get drunk and those who are not our people that get drunk. The conversations are completely different. I mean, unless they get to fighting, but still, you would notice they start off. Let's look. Hold on, look. Though Ahasuerus had taken every precaution to prevent intemperate indulgence in wine, his banquet revealed the essential difference between Hebrew and pagan festivities, right? Listen. Yeah, because I wrote there first, but I didn't think you'd seen it on YouTube. So it might be something wrong with the chat, right? It didn't show anything, Shayla? I don't know what's going on. Maybe I said something and they disabled my, I don't know. I could have said something. I might piss somebody off. Look, okay. I'll look at this. I'm gonna have to, after it's over, I'm gonna cut it off and I'm gonna test it. Somebody pop back in and put in like a number or something. Or hey, the chat is working. I don't know. But I thought that was quite odd. Okay. So, okay, look. Okay. Though Ahasuerus had taken every precaution to prevent intemperate indulgence in wine, his banquet revealed the essential difference between Hebrew and pagan festivities. When Hebrews are gathered about a festal board, They discuss a halakha or a haggadah, or at least a simple verse from the scriptures, right? I could see it, but didn't think you could. Yeah, something definitely going on. Okay. They discuss the halakha, the haggadah, or at least a simple verse from the scriptures. Asa Harris and his boon companions rounded about the banquet with parent talk. Okay, so I brought that up. Think about when black folk, at least from I'm gonna say from my experience, right? When they get drunk, they start to get super spiritual, right? All they can talk about is God. Next thing you know, somebody crying, talking about the goodness of y'all. I'm like, first of all, y'all Regents is drunk. How y'all talking about y'all and y'all drunk, right? I'll be sitting back laughing sometimes. But it is, I'm just like, when it said this, I completely thought about our people, because that's true. Most of the elite, like I said, at least from my experience, when our people get drunk, they start talking. I mean, it's almost like it's weird. It's like, and for those who are not getting drunk, it's like, are you not committing a sin? You talking about God and you drunk? So I mean, I don't say these things out loud, but I noticed this, right? Rashida, you know what I'm talking about? Look, so that makes complete sense there. But other people, by me being in the military and being around other people who are not us, of other nationalities, they like, God, who we didn't even know it was a God. And that even shocked me even more. Trina, yes, I can vouch for that. We talk about all spiritual stuff. I'm telling you, that just hit me, right? Look, okay. I'm gonna keep going, y'all. The Persians lauded the charms of the women of their people, while the Medians admitted none superior to the Median women. Then the fool Ahasuerus up and spake, my wife is neither a Persian nor a Median, but a Chaldean, and she excels all in beauty. Would you convince yourselves of the truth of my words? Yes, shouted the company, who were deep in their cups. But that we may properly judge of her natural charms, let her appear before us unadorned, yes, without any apparel whatsoever. And Ahasuerus agreed to the shameless condition. The thing was from Yahuah, that so insensate a demand should be made of Vashti by the king. A whole week Mordecai had spent in fasting and praying, supplicating Yahuah to mete out punishment to Ahasuerus for his desecration of the temple utensils. On the 7th day of the week, on the Sabbath, when Mordecai, after his long fast, took food, because fasting is forbidden on the Sabbath day, Yahuah heard his prayer and the prayer of the Sanhedrin. He sent 7 angels of confusion to put an end to Ahasuerus' pleasure. They were named Mehuman, confusion; Biztha, destruction of the house; Harbona, which means annihilation; Bigtha and Abagtha, the pressers of the winepress. For Yahuah had resolved to crush the court of Ahasuerus as one presses juice from the grapes in a press. Zetha, observer of immorality; and Carcass, knocker. There was a particular reason why this interruption of the feast took place on the Sabbath. Vashti was in a habit of forcing Hebrew maidens to spin and weave on the Sabbath day, and to add to her cruelty, she would deprive them of all their clothes. It looked like she had a dope shop going on, right? Look. And spinning yarn and stuff without their clothes. Hold on. Look. Vashti was in a habit of forcing the Hebrew maidens to spin and weave on the Sabbath day, and to add to her cruelty, she would deprive them of all their clothes. Yeah, sis was running a dope shop. That's what it sounded like anyway, because they got to cut up the dope naked, so make sure nobody steal it, not right, dipping into my supply. It was on the Sabbath, therefore, that her punishment overtook her. And for the same reason, it was put into the king's heart to have her appear in public stripped of all clothing. Ooh, yes, sis, measure for measure. Vashti recoiled from the king's revolting order, but it must not be supposed that she shrank from carrying it out because it offended her moral sense. She was not a whit better than her husband. She fairly reveled in the opportunity his command gave her to indulge in carnal pleasures once again, for it was exactly a week since she had been delivered of a child. But Yahuwah sent the angel Gabriel to her to disfigure her countenance. Suddenly, signs of leprosy appeared on her forehead and the marks of other diseases on her person. In this state, it was impossible for her to show herself to the king. She made a virtue of necessity and worded her refusal to appear before him arrogantly. Say to Ahasuerus, O thou fool and madman, hast thou lost thy reason by too much drinking? I am Vashti, the daughter of Belshazzar, who was the son of Nebuchadnezzar, the Nebuchadnezzar who scoffed at kings and unto whom princes were in derision. And even thou wouldest not have been deemed worthy to run before my father's chariot as a courier. Had he lived, I should never have been given unto thee for a wife. Not even those who suffered the death penalty during the reign of my forefather Nebuchadnezzar were stripped bare of their clothing. And thou demandest that I appear naked in public? Why is it for thine own sake that I refuse to heed? Hold on. Why it is for thine own sake that I refuse to heed thy order. Either the people will decide that I do not come up to thy description of me and will proclaim thee a liar, or bewitched by my beauty, they will kill thee in order to gain possession of me, saying, shall this fool be master of so much beauty? The first lady of the Persian aristocracy encouraged Vashti to adhere to her resolution. Better, her advisor said when Ahasuerus' second summons was delivered to Vashti, together with his threat to kill her unless she obeyed. Better the king should kill thee and annihilate thy beauty than that thy person should be admired by other eyes than thy husband's, and thus thy name be disgraced, and the name of thy ancestors. When Vashti refused to obey the repeated command to appear before the king and the 127 crown princes of the realm, Ahasuerus turned to the Hebrew sages and requested them to pass sentence upon the queen. Their thoughts ran in this wise: if we condemn the queen to death, we shall suffer it as soon as Ahasuerus becomes sober. And here it was at our advice that she was executed. But if we admonish him unto clemency now, while he is intoxicated, he will accuse us of not paying due deference to the majesty of the king. They therefore resolved upon neutrality. Neutrality. Since the destruction of the temple, they said to the king, since we have not dwelt in our land, we have lost the power to give sage advice, particularly in matters of life and death. Better seek counsel with the wise men of Ammon and Moab, who have ever dealt at ease in their land, like wine that hath settled on its lees and hath not been emptied from vessel to vessel. Thereupon Ahasuerus put his charge against Vashti before the 7 princes of Persia, Karshina, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marcina, and Memucan, who came from Africa, India, Edom, Tarshish, Mirza, Rezin, and Jerusalem, respectively. The names of these 7 officials, each representing his country, were indicative of their office. Carnisha had the care of the animals, Shethar of the wine, Admatha of the land, Tarshish of the palace, Meres of the poultry, Marcina of the bakery, and Memucan provided for the needs of all in the palace, his wife acting as housekeeper. This Memucan, a native of Jerusalem, was none other than Daniel, called Memucan, the appointed one, because he was designated by Yahuwah to perform miracles and bring about the death of Vashti. When the king applied for advice to these 7 nobles, Memucan was the first to speak up. Though in rank he was inferior to the other 6, as appears from the place his name occupies in the list. However, it is customary, as well among the Persians as among the Hebrews, in passing death sentence, to begin taking the vote with the youngest of the judges on the bench, to prevent the juniors and the less prominent from being overawed by the opinion of the more influential. It was Memucan's advice to the king to make an example of Vashti, so that in future no woman should dare refuse obedience to her husband. Daniel Memucan had unpleasant experiences in his conjugal life. He had married a wealthy Persian lady who insisted upon speaking to him in her own language exclusively. Besides, personal Besides personal antipathy existed between Daniel and Vashti. He had in a measure been the cause of her refusal to appear before the king and his princes. Vashti hated Daniel because it was he who had prophesied the death of her father and the extinction of his dynasty. She could not endure his sight, wherefore she would not show herself to the court in his presence. Yes. Also, it was Daniel who, by pronouncing the name of Yahuah, had caused the beauty of Vashti to vanish and her face to be marred. In consequence of all this, Daniel advised not only that Vashti should be cast off, but that she should be made harmless forever by the hangman's hand. His advice was endorsed by his colleagues and approved by the king, that the king might not delay execution of the death sentence, and Daniel himself thus incurred danger to his own life. He made Ahasuerus swear the most solemn oath known to the Persians that it would be carried out forthwith. At the same time, a royal edict was promulgated, making it the duty of wives to obey their husbands. With special reference to Daniel's domestic difficulties, it was specified that the wife must speak the language of her lord and master. The execution of Vashti brought most disastrous consequences in its train. His whole empire, which is tantamount to saying the whole world, rose against Ahasuerus. The widespread rebellion was put down only after his marriage with Esther, but not before it had been inflicted upon him the loss of 127 provinces, the half of his kingdom. Such was his punishment for refusing permission to rebuild the temple. It was only after the fall of Haman, when Mordecai had been made the chancellor of the empire, that Ahasuerus succeeded in reducing the revolted provinces to submission. The death of Vashti was not undeserved punishment, for it had been she who had prevented the king from giving his consent to the rebuilding of the temple. Temple, she said reproachfully, which my ancestors destroyed. We'll read this next section. You know, I'm really thinking about this. I guess y'all can hear me because there's still people here, right? But I can't see the chat. Even if y'all posted something, I can't see it. That's odd. And it's not, it's not disabled from my end. I just checked that. That's interesting, right? Now I'm thinking about what I done said. Maybe it was what I said at the beginning. I don't know. I'll see. Like I said, I'm gonna need to test this, right? Some in my video calls that to be disabled where I can't change it. So I'm sorry, y'all. About the whatchamacallit. They ain't never happened before. There are postings being made on YouTube. What you mean? Oh, about other people's chat boxes not working either? Okay, so maybe it's not just mine. Is that what you're saying? Okay, maybe it's not just mine. I hope that's what you're saying. I hope it's not just mine. Maybe it's a whole thing with YouTube. Is that what you meant? You said there are postings being made on YouTube. I'm going to have to check it out. Okay, let's read this next section. It's real short. The follies of Ahasuerus. Ahasuerus is the prototype of the unable, foolish ruler. He sacrificed his wife Vashti to his friend Haman Memucan, and later on again his friend Haman to his wife Esther. Okay, it's a problem with YouTube. Okay, cool. No, what I'm saying is that those who are listening on YouTube are doing. Oh, they are doing. Wait, so y'all are well, Shayla said she posted. She could see it. I can't see anything. That is odd, right? That's odd. And Tiffany's okay. So maybe because Tiffany said there is a problem from her end. It's a problem. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully they figure it out. Okay. All right. We almost done. This little paragraph. Ahasuerus is the prototype of the unstable, foolish ruler. He sacrificed his wife Vashti to his friend Haman Memucan, and later on again his friend Haman to his wife Esther. Folly possessed him too when he arranged extravagant festivities for guests from afar, before he had won, by means of kindly treatment, the friendship of his surroundings, of the inhabitants of his capital. Ridiculous is the word that describes his edict bidding wives to obey their husbands. Everyone who read it exclaimed, "To be sure, a man is master in his own house. However, you better keep listening, master." Look. However, the silly decree, he said, "Oh Lord." Okay, look, before my master so graciously interrupt me, let me go back up. Okay, look. Ridiculous is the word that describes his edict bidding wives obey their husbands. Wait, hold on, let me just say something. Yeah, look, hold on, I'm about to say, listen here, wives, don't go on a rebellion spree against your husband. That is not what I'm saying. Y'all know me and my husband, we play a lot, but we don't be doing that type of foolishness where no, you ain't gonna get me struck down by y'all. Right? We work together here as a team. Like, we don't lord over one another, but for sake of order, I allow my husband to lead. Right, babe?
It's better together than to be separate, trust.
Yes. Okay. Let me go back here. Okay. Ridiculous is the word that describes his edict bidding wives obey their husbands. Everyone who read it exclaimed, "To be sure, a man is master in his own house." However, the silly decree served its purpose. It revealed his true character to the subjects of Ahasuerus, and thenceforth they attached little importance to his edicts. This was the reason why the decree of annihilation directed against the Hebrews failed of the effect expected by Haman and Ahasuerus. The people regarded it as but another of the king's foolish pranks. Yes.
Spaghetti.
You want some spaghetti?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I'll get you some in a second. I'm almost done. The people regarded it as but another of the king's foolish pranks, and therefore were ready to acquiesce in the revocation of the edict when it came. The king's true character appeared when he grew sober after the episode with Vashti. Learning that he had her executed, he wait, you was that drunk? You ain't realized you just had your wife murdered, my G. Like, what were you drinking? Let us know the name and the maker of that so we can be sure to stay away from that. The king's true character appeared when he grew sober after the episode with Vashti. Learning that he had her executed, he burst out furiously against his 7 counselors and in turn ordered them to death. Foolish, too, is the only word to describe the manner in which he set about discovering the most beautiful woman in his dominion. King David, on a similar occasion, wisely sent out messengers who were to bring to him the most beautiful maiden in the land, and there was none who was not eager to enjoy the honor of giving a daughter of his to the king. Ahasuerus' method was to have his servants gather together a multitude of beautiful maidens and women from all parts, and among them he proposed to make choice. The result of this system was that the women concealed themselves to avoid being taken into the harem of the king. Mom, when it was not certain.
Mommy,
yes,
therefore did not smell.
No, Tootie, that's hand sanitizer.
I guess.
Yes, it's make sure. Yeah, I know that kind of looks like candy, but that's hand sanitizer, please. Hold on. You gotta wait a minute. I'll break it open for you. Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go. Rub that together. Ooh, that's strong. Okay. Ahasuerus' method was to have his servants gather together a multitude of beautiful maidens and women from all parts, and among them he proposed to make choice. The result of this system was that the women concealed themselves to avoid being taken into the harem of the king when it was not certain that they would be found worthy of becoming his queen. With his stupidity, Ahasuerus combined wantonness. He ordered force to be used in taking the maidens from their parents and wives from their husbands, and then confined them in his harem. On the other hand, the moral sense of the heathen was so degraded that many maidens displayed their charms to public view so that they might be sure to attract the admiring attention of the royal emissaries. As for Esther, for 4 years Mordecai kept her concealed in a chamber so that the king's scout could not discover her. But her beauty had long been known to fame, and when they returned to Shushan, they had to confess to the king that the most superbly beautiful woman in the land eluded their search. Thereupon Ahasuerus issued a decree ordaining the death penalty for the women who should secrete herself before her emissaries. There was nothing left for Mordecai to do but to fetch Esther from her hiding place, and immediately she was espied and carried to the palace of the king. All right, guys, so we'll stop right here for today. And we'll pick it back up with Mordecai tomorrow. Let me put my date right. Okay. We'll pick it up with Mordecai tomorrow on page 493. All right, y'all. So we read 2 Kings chapter 3, 4, and 5, and Legends of the Jews, page 491 to page 493. It is Tuesday, April the 20th, 2021, day 132 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, another 3-year consecutive day count, day 801. Yes, 801. All right, beautiful people. So let's go ahead and do the blessing. And hopefully this chat box is fixed by tomorrow. I'll keep checking on it. And I'll do a test when we're done still to see if it's been fixed. I don't know what could have caused that to happen. All right. Okay. Remember, y'all, the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses of Numbers chapter 6 is the Nazirite vow. Man or woman can take it. And Yahuah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, here, baby. Okay. Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuah bless us and keep us. May Yahuah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. So that's gonna be it for today. We won't really have too many comments. I kind of looked at the comments on Facebook while we were going, right? So our prayer today is that Yahuah would give us justice, even when justice doesn't come from this system based on the atrocities that have been done to our people, right? I'm not saying that some of our people, nobody deserves to be treated like an animal, right? Even animals don't deserve to be treated like that, right? Like some of our people have been treated. As a matter of fact, they treat animals better than they treat our people. So our prayer is that Yahuah would begin to, first of all, open the eyes of his people and let them know they're crying out to the wrong one, right? He's been constantly trying to get our attention, that we should cry out to him and not to our captors, right? Because our captors are going to have to be dealt with before they start turning us loose, right? And before they start, and even though they don't want to, but sometimes they'll look at their own life and try to save their own skin and start trying making restitution for some of the stuff they did. Just like let me put this up here. Just like what and they mentioned this before, the Catholic Church is wanting to pay out reparations to descendants of the slave trade based on the part that they took in it, right? And I still think the price that they giving out is way low, right? And we know reparations it shouldn't just be about money either, right? I'm gonna share that, right? Y'all may have seen that, but I saw it yesterday. I know I've seen it before, but there was another article. It was three Caucasian Catholic priests standing on the front of the article saying that they want to give reparations for the part that they played, that the Catholic Church played in slavery. And I forget how much it was. I forget how much they said it was, but I'm gonna share that. I'll share it in the comment section and then Let me see. So y'all can see that, right? So they see, here's what's crazy. They could have been doing this long before the end of the the 400-year captivity, right? But it seemed like everything is popping off now, right? Why now? Like, out of all the times y'all could have done this, why now? Like I posted a post yesterday. If you haven't seen it, we kind of talked about it a little bit with a few family members or whatever, that the bill for reparations, it's just made it out of the House committee, and it was placed there in 1989. All these many years later into the 20th century, right? Wait, is we the 20th century or the 21st century? One of them. And today, there's 19 and many years ago, right? They just now want to pull it out and assign it a number, HR 20, right? House Joint Resolution. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. House Joint Resolution 40, HR 40. HR 40, y'all, not HR 20. HR 40, House Joint Resolution 40. It's just not making out. All these things kind of coming out now. Why now? Out all the time, right? Because they know more than what we know, right? We go off of what Yahuah tells us directly, and some of the old scrolls and manuscripts that he's now revealing to us. But you got to realize some of this stuff was written way before we even went into captivity, right? And they knew this, and they're holding a lot of these things. So some of these things that they know are going to happen, they know about, right? So they're trying to save their skin based on the information they know. They know that Yahuah is going to deliver his people, and he is going to give us restitution, and he's going to deal with the captors, right? And so it's like they're trying to save their skin now, like all this time. And granted, some of the people, I would say, I would even go as far as to say and most of the people alive today really played no parts in what was done to our ancestors, right? But did we play a part in the sin that our ancestors did? Yet here we find ourselves. If we had to pay for the sins of our ancestors and we sold into captivity, why shouldn't you have to pay for the sins of your ancestors who took us captive, right? And so a lot of people think they're getting out of that. Hey, some of y'all might fare well, but we know a lot of y'all won't, just like a lot of our people didn't, right? But justice is going to come by the hand of Yahuah himself and the Sabians who he's sending right now. The Sabians right now looking like Russia to me. I don't know. Don't mark my don't. Somebody gonna be like, you didn't say it, the Sabians was Russia. That was a joke. I mean, not really, because I don't really know. I mean, I know from scripture, the Sabians is Queen Sheba people, right? It's the people from the land of Sheba. That's what I know. But hear what I'm saying, right? I'm just kind of throwing something out there, being funny, but not being funny. But that's what Yahuah said, right? That our captors would be dealt with directly by him. So we'll see some natural disasters and things happening that look like acts of Yah, which truly are the acts of Yah, right? Because we know they not just gonna, well, most of them not just gonna willingly do what's right. They're absolutely not. There has to be a higher force come down upon them, or they will continue judging themselves and not guilty, right? So yeah, that's it for today, y'all. And if y'all don't know where that scripture is at, where Yahuah talks about them judging themselves not guilty, like doing all manner of disgusting things to us, then coming back saying, oh, we innocent, we got the right to do this to you because your God done gave you up. Yeah, y'all done heard wrong. Only for a period of time. Just only for a period of time. And that period of time has come to an end, right? You know, so let me put it in there. I believe it's Zechariah. Zechariah. Don't quote me on it. I know it's in Zechariah. Because I was about to give a verse. I think Zechariah 3 and 11, 8 and 11, one of them. I might have it all chopped and screwed, but I'm almost certain it's in Zechariah. I'm going to find it and I'm going to post it for y'all, right? Okay. All right, y'all. So that's it for today. Let's go ahead and get out of here. I got some work I need to get done. All right. Love y'all. I see y'all here bright and early tomorrow morning, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And hopefully they didn't get this chat together, right? I miss y'all day here on YouTube. I don't know who they are, but it's been a few people here coming in and out. So Mom, Shalom, people I know that's always there. Aliyah,
come on.
Auntie, Joanne, Demi been coming in. We got Titus. He don't always talk, but he be there sometime. I'm trying to think of names. All y'all there. Give y'all
Mom.
shout out. Everybody's there and everybody's not there. Hold on.
Mommy.
Yes, baby girl. Okay, so and forgive me if I forget your name, y'all. I'm sorry.
Take it off.
All right. Love y'all. See y'all tomorrow. We out of here. Bye.
Mom,
Yes, baby girl.
look.
Hold on. Let me end this. Okay. What you got?